Hello and welcome to a One Piece discussion video. Wano has been really hyped and I've been wanting to talk about One Piece. I've just always had trouble thinking about what to say about One Piece in a way that is conducive to a video. There's a lot to talk about with One Piece, but so much of it is covered by channels that are way more invested in the series than even I am, and have way more, better memories of what's happened in the series than I do. And a lot of those channels kind of end up being a little dull because, they're more educational based, which I love and I enjoy because, that's just my wheelhouse as someone who watches YouTube. But as far as making content, it's not really something I've delved into when it comes to fictional series. Though I've always considered doing it. A lot of the really big One Piece YouTubers like Grand Line Review, they're more like, these are things that have happened or are stated in One Piece, or it's like extra material like the Vivia cards or the data books, neither of which I have read. I'm also not really big into predictions, but I think I have enough material here and enough reasoning to make a prediction video. This is not going to predict necessarily how Wano is going to end or where everything else is going to be at the end. These are just me spitballing some ideas I have for where the story is going from here and what the fallout from Wano is going to be, because I think the fallout from Wano is going to be a lot more surprising than, the ending itself. I think in the ending itself, the Straw Hats are going to win. Luffy's going to win. Kaido and Big Mom are going to be defeated. I think Big Mom might actually be finished after this arc. Maybe she'll return again in, Elbaf or something. I think Kaido is going to live and continue to be an emperor, just with a slightly sullied reputation. But, the saying in One Piece isn't Kaido always wins, it's one-on-one Kaido always wins. Now, Kaido has lost plenty of times before. We know he lost to Roger, we know he lost to Whitebeard. He probably lost to Shanks during, the Marineford incident. We've gotten some hints that might have happened. He nearly lost to Odin and his vassals. Had to resort to some shady tactics there, which were all viable, by the way. It's war, all's fair. The presence of CP0 and the revelation that Drake is actually working for Sword means that this isn't going to stay quiet. It is not going to stay quiet that 2 of the 4 emperors were defeated in one battle. Now, I think in order to mitigate a lot of that fallout, Big Mom is going to get a lot of credit she doesn't deserve. The news, the media in One Piece are going to say that Big Mom was a third party in this raid, and that her intervention is what allowed the Straw Hat Alliance to take down Kaido. And in doing so, she weakened herself enough to be taken down by Law and Kid. I think that's going to be the story that the world is told about this situation. So one thing I really love about One Piece is how it manipulates information. We have what actually happens, and then we have how everyone perceives the world happening. And that's where bounty comes in. Bounties aren't a power level or power scale. They are completely useless in power scaling. They are all about perceived threats. And things that the world government perceive as threats are not just individual physical capabilities. It also has to do with crews, alliances, what they know, knowledge. Nico Robin had a 70 million berry bounty as a kid just because she could read poneglyphs. Just being able to read poneglyphs makes you a way bigger threat to the world government than most pirates we see in the first quarter of the Grand Line or the 4 Cardinal Oceans. So news is going to break out here. The CPs are going to try to control it. They're going to try to control it with, by giving Big Mom credit. Which, honestly, isn't even all that inaccurate. She did take out Ulti. She has been kind of wreaking havoc against both sides in this, especially after being split from Kaido. The only other big story that'll come out of this, I think, is Momonosuke becoming the shogun and opening Wano's borders. It might not happen yet. I feel like Momonosuke has really stepped up into a leadership role during this raid. I don't think that Wano will be ready to open up its borders after this. There's going to be a bit of a recovery time. We're gonna have to say goodbye to Kinemon and Momonosuke for a while. After the Straw Hats and everyone leaves, they're gonna stay on Wano and rebuild. And then Wano is going to open its borders sometime during the final saga, and we're gonna get Momonosuke and Kinemon and everyone else back, and they're gonna help the Straw Hats do whatever it is the Straw Hats are going to do on Raftel. You know, this whole big war that Kaido and Doflamingo have been hyping up, this war that's gonna pull in the entire world, that's going to start when someone finds that treasure, as Whitebeard says. Wano is going to side with the Straw Hats. Obviously, they don't care about the world government. They're not affiliated with the world government. That's gonna actually make it a lot harder for the world government to suppress this information, because they have no idea what's going on in Wano. It took them years and years to find out that Odin had died. Now, Whitebeard didn't know about Odin's death until it was way too late to do anything about it. And by then it was too risky to go to war with Kaido. Now, Whitebeard, he was old. He could have maybe beaten Kaido one-on-one even in his old age, but same can't really be said about his crew. Like, yeah, we know Marco has been kind of clouding on King a little bit, but you think Jozu can beat Queen? You think that Ace was ready to take on Jack the Drought at that point? Probably not. And even if they were, the collateral damage from two Yonkos clashing would have destroyed Wano. Like, that's one of the reasons why they chose Onigashima as the point of attack, is because Onigashima is isolated from the rest of Wano. There are no civilians there. It is all just samurai and pirates, all allied with Kaido that, live there. And so Luffy and the Alliance could strike at Onigashima without really worrying about the fallout from Zoro slicing a horn off of Onigashima Island. Had they fought in some place like the Flower Capital, Zoro does that attack, slices off a piece of a mountain, that mountain falls on a building and crushes a bunch of people. Like that. Onigashima was a better place to have a raid, and that's a luxury that, had Whitebeard invaded, he wouldn't have had. One question I have is, will Momonosuke have a bounty like his father before him? Since he is going to be Shogun of Wano, I don't know. I would like for him to. I would like for the world government to address him as, like, a threat and address Wano as, like, almost like they do Ohara, where it's like, where they just consider the entire island a threat to the government, and maybe they try to Buster Call it. Maybe they might actually try to Buster Call it at the end. That might be, what makes us escape Wano, or have to flee from Wano to the next island, is, the Buster Call happening. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just spitballing. For more spitballing, the main thing I wanted to do with this video was speculate on some bounties. Now, like I said, bounties have nothing to do with power levels. They have to do with perceived threats. So, I think just participating in this raid against two of the emperors, even the weaklings are going to get a flat, I'm gonna say 200 million berry increase. I think they had like a 100 million berry increase for Dressrosa. It makes sense to at least have a 200 million berry increase. I might even be lowballing it. It might be more like 500 million for everyone. So I'm going to kind of run through these in order of how high I think their bounty is going to be after this arc. So at the very bottom we have Tony Chopper, who the world government doesn't even realize is a fighter. Like, he's not like, really combative, but he can fight. They still think that he's just the Straw Hat's pet. They don't realize that he's actually a reindeer who ate the human fruit and can kind of kick some ass a little bit, and is also the ship's doctor. I do think he will remain the lowest amongst the Straw Hats. I don't think Oda is going to give up on having it be kind of a gag a little bit. I also think that Chopper's kind of done for this arc. I think solving Queen's plague was kind of peak Chopper. He found the cure, he threw down with Queen a little bit. Yeah, he didn't really accomplish much in throwing down the Queen, but like I said, he's not like a combatant, he's the ship's doctor. So solving that illness was way more in his wheelhouse and way more important for the story than taking down Queen, I think. So currently he has a 100 berry bounty. I think it will go to 200 million and 100 berry bounty. Now just have that nice tacked on 100 berry on top of the 200 million berry flat increase I think a lot of these Straw Hats are going to get. So next up is Nami. She's another one who isn't really a fighter, she's a navigator. That's not a type of skill that the world government really considers a threat. And I think however much Nami's bounty increases will depend on how much ulti was worth. Because I think at the end of the day, she's going to have a slightly higher bounty than ulti. And we don't know ulti's bounty. We don't know the bounties for any of the Flying Six, actually. And I think Oda might be hiding that for us specifically to keep us from speculating about the Straw Hat bounties. So with Nami, between the flat 200 million increase that I'm saying everyone's gonna get, ulti's bounty, whatever that is, and acquiring Zeus, I think her bounty is going to be anywhere between 266 and 330 million. It can be anywhere in that ballpark. Continuing on that path is Brook. I don't think Brook is going to be factoring in much in this arc. He kind of stole the show on Whole Cake Island, so I am totally fine with him taking more of a backseat here. I think the world government is going to continue to underestimate him as a fighter. They're going to continue not really knowing much about him. They just know that he's this skeleton who is on Luffy's crew, who once upon a time was a pirate who kind of had, like, a decent bounty. Like, not super high. I think his original bounty was, like, 33 million or something like that, and then it went up to, like, 50 million or something like that after the time skip, and then it's 83 million now. So I think it's going to have a flat 200 million increase and go to 283 million berries. Now, Frankie is someone who the world government has underestimated in terms of fighting capabilities. They just think he's the ship mechanic, like he's just the shipwright. They don't realize that he's probably, like, the 5th best fighter on the Straw Hats now that Jinbe's on board. 5th or 6th, I guess, if you count Yamato, which I'm not sold on Yamato becoming a Straw Hat yet. Joining the Grand Fleet, absolutely. Become, like, the female Bartolomeo. But an actual Straw Hat, she just hasn't really been around long enough for me to really dig into her like that. Now, Frankie, same story with Nami, it really depends on Sasaki's bounty. Like, that's his big contribution to this arc, is fighting Sasaki. I do think they will continue to use the General Frankie picture. I think that is who's going to get all the credit, even though I know it's still Frankie, but they don't really know what Frankie looks like, because every time they go to, like, get these bounties and update them, he's in the General Frankie armor, so they might actually think that's what he looks like. Especially, like, right now, he hasn't really taken it off in the raid since he put it on. And he put it on pretty early on in the raid. So between Sasaki's place as one of the Flying Six, the leader of the Armored Corps, a captain in his own right before joining Kaido, I think Frankie, it would be fair to say he's going to be around 376 million. Oda hasn't used a round number for Frankie yet. I don't think he will start now. So 376, it seems like a random number, but it's the kind of number I think Frankie would have. And now we get to Usopp, the one straw hat the world government has kind of overestimated. They overestimated him at the end of Eni's lobby because he's the one who shot the flag, and he's the one who covered for all the Straw Hats' exit from Eni's lobby, so they gave him, like, a ridiculously high bounty at that point. And, they gave him a really high bounty after Dressrosa because he's the one who took out, Toy Girl, the hobby girl. I can't remember her name. I think her name was, like, Sugar or something. The linchpin of Doflamingo's entire operation on Dressrosa was this girl, and Usopp took her out. And because of that, he was the 5-star bounty during Doflamingo's killing game. Like, Law and Luffy, they were 4 stars. Usopp, Doflamingo wanted that dude dead. Like, he wanted someone to take Usopp out. Like, he was more determined to take out Usopp than Law or even Luffy. I don't know if Usopp is done with this arc yet. I feel like he could really pull something just amazing off still. And so I'm going to guess he's going to end off this arc with a whopping 500 million berry bounty, which, for perspective, that's how much Law is worth right now after Dressrosa. Like, I'm saying 500 million at least. It might even be higher than that, depending on if Usopp... Like, if Usopp is done for this arc, it's going to be somewhere between 400 and 500 million. If he's not done for this arc, 500 million might be lowballing it. I am not going to be surprised if Usopp just straight up takes out the CP0 guys. Just, like, notices them with his observation hockey, says, oh crap, it's the CPs, I should take these dudes out, and just start sniping them. And they just have no idea what's going on. Like, that's something Usopp, I think, would do. And of course he wouldn't realize that it's CP0, because if you realize it's CP0, then you might get cold feet, because that's how he is, you know. It's a lot easier to be brave when you don't really know what you're doing. Now that we're done with Usopp, let's go to Robin, who is currently at 130 million. She had, like, kind of a flat, 50 million increase, I think, after Dressrosa, because she didn't really do much in Dressrosa, much to my chagrin. So, usually I would say this depends on Black Maria's bounty, and they might use that as some sort of measuring stick for her physical capabilities, but more importantly, whoever stands at the top of Wano is going to have 2 poneglyphs. On top of that, the Straw Hats already have a poneglyph. They actually have 2 poneglyphs, and if they stand at the top of Wano, they'll just have 1 more. They'll have 3 total. If Kaido or Big Mom stand at the top, then they'll have 2. The Straw Hats are the only ones who already have 1 because of Zoe. And they also actually have 2 because Brook is a G. So, with Robin being the only one who can read the poneglyphs, and with 3 down, 1 to go, she's entering, I think, the Billion Berry Club. I'd say anywhere between 800 million and 1.3 billion would be fair. I'm leaning closer to 1.3 billion. I think she's going to have a 10 times bounty increase. Just because the Straw Hats are going to be that much closer to doing the thing the world government does not want anyone to be able to do, which is find Raftel, and also find out the true history of the world by reading the poneglyphs. Like, they nuked an entire island to keep this from happening. And the Straw Hats are going to be just 1 step closer to that goal, and 1 giant step closer at that. So, next we have the newest member of the Straw Hats, and also probably the most combat experienced member of the Straw Hats, JINBE! JINBE right now is at 400 million. I think that is lowballing him when it comes to power, but when it comes to perceived threat, which is the more important factor in this, I think it's fair. I think JINBE has, for a very long time now, been Yonko Commander level. Like, he's been in that league. I was actually predicting that he was going to fight Jack. Right now he's fighting Who's Who is probably the strongest of the Tobiroppo. He's certainly the most confident in his abilities to become an all-star. So I think JINBE's final bounty here, it will kinda depend on Who's Who and what his bounty is. I think that's going to be the big thing. I think they're going to underestimate JINBE. JINBE kinda has a same situation that Katakuri has going on, where yes, he is crazy strong, but he's not actually that big of a threat to the world government, because he's not out there looking to cause trouble the way that Jack and the other members of Kaido's crew are. So they're always gonna lowball people like that. Like Katakuri, he was worth like just over 1 billion berries, when really he probably should have been worth more than that because of how strong he was. But he was the reason why the Big Mom Pirates wouldn't like just destroy everything. Like, he was very much the voice of reasoning on that crew. And so that actually kept his bounty low, because he kept the Big Mom Pirates from becoming more of a threat than they could have been. And I think JINBE is going to serve the same role within the Straw Hats, where he's a negotiator. He believes in diplomacy. He believes in conversation. He's not going to throw a fist first and ask questions later the way that Luffy will. So I'm guessing overall he's going to be somewhere around 800 million. He might be higher than that after this arc. It kind of depends on Who's Who, whether he gets higher than 800 million. But 800 million is my official guess, which is actually my same, like, lowball guess for Robin. But yeah, I think a lot of that increase is going to just be from joining the Straw Hats, because the world government knows that the Straw Hats are such a threat. They are able to read the poneglyphs. Luffy has the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which is apparently, like, really important now, I guess. He has the Straw Hat. They know his lineage. They know what he's capable of. They know what he can be capable of if left unchecked for too long. So I think a lot of whatever increase JINBE does have will be because he's being associated with the Straw Hats now. I think the world government knows perfectly well what he is capable of as a physical fighter. I think that's why he's worth 400 million, and not even lower than that, like he was when he was a warlord. Being associated with Luffy's going to be a bad influence on JINBE. So next, we are entering the Monster Trio, and the people that are going to definitely be in the Billion Berry Club. Sanji is already worth 330 million berries, and with him fighting Queen, I think that's going to be his biggest contribution to this arc. I'm feeling he's going to be slightly higher than Queen's bounty. Queen is somewhere right now at 1.32 billion, so I would really like it for him to be worth like 1,333,333,333. I think that would be really neat for him at this moment, especially since he's using the number 3 raid suit now and all that stuff. His name literally means like 3 something. I would also not be surprised if it just gets 1 billion berries tacked onto it, but like I said, I think the 1.33333 billion would be a lot more fun. So with ZORO, it kind of depends on what exactly he does after he recovers. Everyone, including myself, thinks he's going to fight King, and if he does, then it's going to kind of depend on King's bounty. I'm guessing it's going to at least be higher than 1.5 billion. Because every time ZORO gets a bounty increase, it tends to be higher than Luffy's last bounty increase. Like, he went from... Luffy's first bounty was 30 million, Zoro's first bounty was 60 million. Luffy got his bounty increase from 100 million to 300 million, while Zoro got his increase from, 60 million to 120 million, to surpass Luffy's prior bounty of 100 million. And that's kind of been a pattern. it kind of got thrown off when Luffy got, like, a bunch of bounty increases in between Zoro bounty increases. Like, he went from 300 million to 400 million to 500 million to 1.5 billion. And now, and in that time span, Zoro's bounty has only increased from, like, 120 to, like, 360 million or something like that. So, my guess, he's going to enter the Billion Berry Club. He's going to fight King. You know, taking down a Yonko commander, that's worth $1 billion in itself. I think he's going to be 1.6 billion. That is my official guess. Now, before I get to the main man himself, I want to kind of run through some other people that I think are going to have bounty increases. Kid and Law, I think, are going to end off with the same bounty. I think the combined bounty of Zoro, Luffy, Law, Kid, and Killer combined will be over, like, 8.5 to 9 billion together. And, like a third of that's going to be Luffy. So, reason being, those 5 together are going to end up getting credit for taking down Kaido and Big Mom, even with Big Mom's help. And I think that's why I'm going to, like, lowball it to combined bounty of 8 billion. Even though Big Mom's bounty plus Kaido's bounty is closer to 9 billion. So, with Zoro getting 1.6 billion, Killer getting, he's going to end up, you know, significantly higher than Basil Hawkins' bounty. I think Kid and Law are going to end up around the 2 to 2.5 billion berry range. And they're going to have the same bounty at the end, I think. Now, Law and Luffy had the same bounty after taking down Doflamingo. They kind of got equal credit for that. Doflamingo we know is like Yonko commander level. The only reason why he was worth so little is because he was a warlord and he had his bounty frozen for, 20 years or something like that. So adjusting Doflamingo's bounty for inflation and unfreezing it would be like $1 billion, I think. So Luffy and Law together, 500 million each. That was fair for Dressrosa. Kid and Law together taking down Big Mom. I think they both need at least 2 billion by the end. Now, they together took down an emperor. That's staking your claim in the new world. Now, that's some perceived threat level if I've ever seen one. Now for Luffy. He's already considered the 5th emperor. He's going to be allied with Wano at the end here. But I think a more troubling and a more, important factor in what his bounty is going to end up being is the fact that he lost to Kaido one-on-one. Luffy's bounty increases, when he has fought pirates at least, have always been slightly higher than the bounty of the person before him. Crocodile's worth around 89 million, so Luffy's bounty went to 100 million. Arlong was worth 27 million, Luffy went to 30 million. After taking down Rob Lucci and making a mess of Enies Lobby, it got increased to 300 million. Just participating in the Paramount War was worth 100 million berry increase for a lot of those people. And then Dressrosa, splitting the difference with Law, he just got another 100 million berry increase. Then with Katakuri, he probably should have went to 1.1 or 1.2 billion. But on top of that, he got a lot of credit he didn't deserve for staging this assassination attempt on Big Mom, and that's why it got increased to 1.5 billion. So he's kind of had it inflated in some ways, but at the same time, he's also been underestimated in other ways. The world government has no idea what happened on Sky Island. They've kind of buried the lead in Alabasta and Punk Hazard a little bit. But I don't think any of this is going to go to waste. I think he's going to end off this arc with 3 billion. It's going to be slightly higher than Blackbeard's. I think Blackbeard is actually going to have a bounty increase by the end of this arc. I think whatever he's doing right now is going to give him a bounty increase to something like 3.2 or 3.5 billion. And he's going to be the next person Luffy has to fight or have at least some kind of skirmish with. Not a final battle, but, he needs to have a throwdown with Blackbeard. I think he's going to have a couple throwdowns with Blackbeard before the end of the story. I think that would just be more interesting. But the important thing is he's not going to instantly jump higher than Blackbeard and Shanks in terms of bounty. Like, that's not going to happen. There's not very many places to go after that. I think 3 billion, that's fair. It's going to be a lot more accurate. He's going to actually come out of this with the most accurate bounty he's probably ever had. Because again, he lost to Kaido 1v1. He is not a 5 billion berry kid right now. He will be, but not yet. And so, final predictions. The next arc, I don't know if we're going to go straight to Elbaf. It kind of depends on where Oda wants the log post to go. I do think we are going to be entering the final saga, but if this saga is any indication, we could be in the next saga for the next 6 to 7 years. Like, when did the Yonko saga officially start? At the end of Dressrosa? When was that? Like, 2014? Yeah, because I remember hearing that Zoe had a lot of Naruto references because Naruto was ending at that time, and Naruto ended in 2014. So yeah, Zoe was going on in late 2014. So that's 7 years we've been in this saga, and probably another year before it ends. So that's a total of like 8 years we've been in this Yonko saga. That's not even including like how this is just building off of Dressrosa, which itself was like, I want to say like 3 to 4 years of publication for Punk Hazard and Dressrosa. And then you gotta add another like year and a half for Fishman Island, because that's when Luffy's conflict with Big Mom started. So yeah, I feel like the next saga is going to be multiple arcs. I'm saying like 4 or 5 islands at least. We're gonna have like Vegapunk. We're probably gonna return to, the Red Line and go to Mary Joie for a bit. We're gonna run into the Revolutionaries. We're gonna run into Shanks. We're gonna have a couple skirmishes with Blackbeard and his crew. All of that in this final saga before we even get to Raftel. And when we get to Raftel and all hell breaks loose, we're gonna be there for another 4 to 5 years, I think. So we're really looking like... So yeah, One Piece, it's entering its final saga. That means it could be ending anywhere between 5 and 10 years. Like, there's no telling with this. I hope sooner rather than later, honestly. 5 years. I think One Piece has a solid 5 years left in it. That's as much as I'm, willing to bet. Could be longer, could be shorter. I hope it's not shorter, and I hope it's not too much longer than 5 years. I hope 5 years is pretty accurate. But yeah, the world is going to be turned upside down with the defeat of 2 emperors, even if they both survive. Just the fact that, like, kind of proves that... I just thought of this. I don't even have this written down. I think Akainu, Sakazuki, is gonna get on his high horse with this and be like, yeah, them emperors are, nothing. We had to hold back in Marineford to keep, collateral damage down to a minimum. The emperors are nothing. Luffy, Straw Hat Luffy, yeah, he's not weak, but the fact that he was able to take down 2 of them means that the Marines should be able to take down the other 2. Let's directly go to war with Shanks and Blackbeard. Now, other predictions? I want to do something with the Warlords. I want to do some kind of prediction with the Warlords, what their adjusted bounties are going to be, how Kobe versus Hancock is gonna go down, how they're gonna find out that they are both just Luffy fanboys. And I think one thing that Blackbeard is going to be doing, or is doing right now as we speak, as this raid is going on, he said he wants to scoop up some of these warlords and offer them shelter from the Marines now that they're being chased. I don't think Boa Hancock is going to join. I don't even think they're going to be able to have contact because Boa Hancock lives in one of the calm belts on the Paradise side of the Grand Line, and so Blackbeard would have to go through Fishman Island to get to her. I don't see that happening. Also, Boa Hancock is very strongly allied with Luffy. If she's gonna go to anyone for shelter, she's gonna go to Luffy, and the Kuja clan are just going to enter the Grand Fleet, which is also where I think Yamato is gonna be. I think Yamato's gonna kind of take some of the remnants of the Beast Pirates, like the Pleasures and stuff that got betrayed by Queen. She's gonna kind of form her own crew, join the Straw Hat Alliance, and kind of go out to sea on her own with them. I can also kind of see that happening with the remnants of the Big Mom Pirates. If Big Mom dies and Katakuri takes over, I can see the Big Mom Pirates exchanging sake cups with Luffy and kind of becoming allied with him, which would cement his Yonko status. Definitely. As for the other warlords, Weevil wants to kill Blackbeard. Who else is left? Oh, Buggy. Buggy would definitely go hide out with Blackbeard. Like, he has no loyalty in his bones. Mihawk, on the other hand, a lot of people have been predicting he's gonna go hide out with Shanks, which is possible, but if Blackbeard gets to him first and says, hey, you wanna come ride with the Yonko crew? No, for protection, Mihawk might actually take him up on that offer. I think it's more likely for Mihawk to just continue running around by himself. No, if he wanted to have a crew, he would have a crew. And I don't see him bowing down to someone like Blackbeard, or Shanks for that matter. But I do think the prospect of Mihawk joining Blackbeard's crew is interesting, and it would also help facilitate his final clash with Zoro. Because right now, Mihawk has to be Zoro's final goal. It has to be who he fights on Raftel. And without him being a warlord, I'm just kind of struggling to come up with ways for Mihawk to even be there. And so I think joining the Blackbeard crew could actually happen. As terrifying as a prospect as that is. Fuck, he might just join Kaido. I really doubt Kaido's gonna die. But yeah, those are my predictions for the rest of Wano and going forward a little bit. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment. What do you think the bounties are going to be for the Straw Hats after this? Do you think I'm lowballing? Who do you think I'm lowballing? Who do you think I'm hyping up too much? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Mediocrity4. Thanks for watching.